Welcome to today's podcast episode of Little by Little Homeschool. I am so pleased and blessed to be joined by Lyndsey Mimnaugh from Treehouse Schoolhouse. Thanks for being here today, Lyndsey.
I'm so happy to be here. This is not my first time chatting with you.
I know it's been, I guess at least a year and a half or so. But today we're going to talk about Christmas and the holidays and all that stuff because we get a lot of questions. I know you do, and I do as well, is like, how do we incorporate this? But before we get started, just in case somebody listening is not familiar with who you are, can you share a little bit about yourself?
Sure thing. So my name's Lyndsey. I live in North Carolina. I have 4 kids. My youngest is 5 and my oldest is 12. So I just keep feeling like I am in this really sweet spot between diapers and driving. And we've been homeschooling the entire journey. And before we homeschooled, I had a career in I was a nanny that turned homeschool teacher. So I homeschooled before I was a parent. So that's super unique. But I fell in love with the culture of homeschooling. And as I learned about homeschooling, not being raised homeschooled myself, I was raised in the public school system. But when I met my husband, I was working that job and I said, just so you know, my plan is that when we have kids, I really want to homeschool. So it's become my passion just to bring God into our school and to see everything that we do through a biblical lens, to raise our kids to love books, to love learning, to love nature. And so, I love homeschooling. I homeschool in the mornings and then I create resources in the afternoons. So I kind of get the best of both worlds. My company, Treehouse Schoolhouse, we develop curriculum we have seasonal curriculum, we have all kinds of resources, homeschool planner, all sorts of things to equip parents to do this ministry of homeschooling.
Thank you for all that. You have a full and beautiful life, and I agree. It's like the sweet spot. That's so funny, between diapers and driving.
Yeah.
That's a perfect description. So as right now we are kind of entering the holiday season, we have hopefully most of us have gotten to a stride when it comes to starting our homeschool, and now we kind of have we've got a rhythm going here. But now we're looking at, we've got the holidays, and like, how do we have a regular schedule? Do we incorporate things? Like, what do we do? We don't want to miss out on being intentional for these weeks or month and a half or so. That includes the holidays. So I know that you share that the holidays can be a powerful time for discipleship. How can homeschool moms use this season as an opportunity to point their children to Christ in a meaningful but also age-appropriate way?
I love homeschooling at Christmas. I think that, I have all these memories growing up of different projects my mom would do or things that we did at church or different things. And so when I started homeschooling, I was like, how can I do all of that, but incorporate it into our homeschool routine? And so especially you want to do poetry, you want to do art, you want to do all these different things, even copy work or all these different subjects. And I'm like, why are we going to do them out of a bland curriculum book, like a workbook or something? And then pause and be like, now let's make Christmas cookies. I'm like, let's intertwine them. Let's do it all together. And so I developed a Christmas curriculum. And basically the basis is that every day you read a passage of scripture. And then the child listens to this passage. They narrate it. They write down a narration and they draw a picture. And it builds up to the entire Christmas story. And so they're getting their handwriting, they're getting their language arts in that, and they're listening to the story, and they're learning the Bible. And so for me, it's like, let's use homeschooling as an avenue to point our children to Jesus and make memories and traditions. So of course, it's going to look different in every family with what capacity you have or what your family traditions are. But my encouragement to you is to plan ahead and to incorporate it all together. That's life-giving. Don't do so much that it's overwhelming, but what can you do that's life-giving to your family and kind of weaves it all together?
Yes, I know the idea of Christmas schooling, and I know you shared a lot about that, has really grown over the years. I know for myself, when I started homeschooling, there wasn't that term. I mean, I wasn't even on social media. Maybe I had Facebook, but I didn't know about that. So here I was trying to add just Advent stuff on top of our the regularly scheduled program. And it was a lot. But then why keep doing kind of boring stuff and just the tying in the two together? So I have appreciated and love how you tie those together.
Yeah, I love just pausing because we take usually 3 weeks leading up to Christmas. So between Thanksgiving and Christmas, like you said, we pause our regularly scheduled program because when we are learning the Bible. We're learning history. We can study art, classic art of depictions of baby Jesus and Mary and the whole story. We can recite and memorize poetry, and we can copy poetry. We can illustrate poetry, all of that. So I've created this resource that we could basically open it and just get all of that in one. And the beautiful thing is you can include your 5-year-old and your 12-year-old at all different levels. So we end up doing history because we're learning about the Bible, but also the history of the artist or the poet. We listen to hymns. So we're learning all this beautiful language, and we can study the hymn, the hymnist. And so there's just a lot that you can do there. And then of course, everybody knows, like when you're baking, you can include math lessons, all of that. And so even if maybe your older children aren't getting like the depth of like these academic subjects for a few weeks, it's okay. Like pause, focus on connection together, focus on family bonding, which I know is something you're big on, is, keeping those kids together as much as you can when you can for learning, which is just so special. And it will fly by. These years will fly by. And so I want to look back at the Christmas season and be able to say that we were connected, that we were focusing on the right things, and that we slowed down enough to really just soak in what Jesus, the anticipation that Jesus was coming and why that mattered.
Hopefully what you just said, I can feel a weight just coming off of my shoulders. And I wish that someone had said that to me years ago when I was, where your sweet spot is of your kids and the ages, just to know that it's okay to just let it go a bit. They're not going to fail their math. They're not going to forget 1 + 1 and all the things. And I love being able to, like you're talking about, include the 5-year-old and the 12-year-old. And I think we discount how much the 5-year-old is actually going to catch on. Yeah. And the 12-year-old can get in a little bit deeper. And you talk about I'm just thinking as you're mentioning the history and all that stuff, I'm like, oh, the music. That's something that's huge. Everybody loves the music of the Christmas season. And why not learn all those hymns? And we can learn the fun stuff too, but the hymns and tying in the artwork. It's a beautiful, it's supposed to be I don't want to say fun, we're not supposed to be intentional about our time, but it can be just, I guess I should use the word joyous. It can be a joyous season instead of just one more thing that we feel like we have to do. So do you have any other ideas or tips about how we can include some simple, tangible ways that we can weave that scripture, the traditions, and hands-on activities into our rhythm without it being we're saying one more thing on the to-do list?
Yeah, I would definitely suggest don't try to add it, but try to replace something else. So, for us, we really focus on this idea that we do morning time, and throughout the year it changes. And so during the holiday season, I replace all the normal stuff that we do during morning time, and I replace it with Christmas school. And in that, it's a lot of books. It's a lot of reading aloud together and then doing projects that coordinate. So, as simple as reading The Gingerbread Man and then heading to the kitchen and baking together. Or it could be a more emotional, in-depth story and then we're spending some time in prayer for someone, or we're making a paper chain to, talk about how many days till Christmas, or just all these different hands-on ways that you can include all the ages. And then when you have older kids, you can give them a specific book basket with older children, literature, and have them write book reports on it or whatever. But for us, we do so much of our schooling around books and hands-on projects. Pretty much everything you see in my home is around books and hands-on projects, because I feel like that is what makes my kids come alive, and what makes them remember what we do. So you can easily do that with Christmas. You can start gathering those books now. Find some quality picture book lists. We have some on our website for free that you can just start gathering Christmas books. And for us, on the years that I have the margin, I love to wrap each picture book individually. And every morning it'll be we'll rotate turns, and the kids will take turns and go unwrap the picture book of the day. And I'm talking about the books we already own. I just pull out this box of books and I wrap them all up right around Thanksgiving time. And then we just start. And every day when we gather, we will sing some songs, some carols together. We'll look at our poem and our art, and then we'll read that picture book. And like I said, then we'll do some sort of hands-on project. So it's very simple, and it just really brings you all together and really creates these strong memories, especially if you revisit the same things year after year. They become very nostalgic.
That's a fun idea. As you're saying, gather the books, and then you're like, oh, I just wrapped ones that I already have. That's brilliant.
Yeah. Because they haven't seen them in a year, so they're like, oh, I love that one, you know?
Yeah, I remember also taking the Christmas books and putting them away with all the Christmas decorations. Yeah, and they wouldn't see them again until the next year. So that's a really good idea. I did learn years ago when I first started homeschooling that if you wanted to get Christmas books, and if you're listening to this episode and you don't have a lot but you want to borrow them, get them from the library soon, right? Or they're possibly not going to be there.
Yes, I would say as soon as you're hearing this episode, start putting them on hold. And even if you have to renew them a few times, at least you have them. But I also like to shop at thrift books. I feel like Christmas is one of those things that you're going to use that book again, especially if you have multiple children with different ages and they're going to grow up on these books being traditions. So I just collect some new ones every year and add them to my pile. From thriftbooks.com is what I was mentioning, just because I love shopping there. The books are between like $4 and $6 usually used. So I'm always collecting books. I would have to say it's one of my pastimes.
No, I love thriftbooks.com too. I've used them for a lot of things. And when you're saying you'll have those books for a long time, I still have that stack of Christmas books.
Yeah.
Even a couple of years ago, I took them out and none of my kids bothered with it. They were like, whatever. So I don't even unpack it now because I know that's just going to collect dust for that month. But just know that you will continue to use them. And I tell my kids, so my kids are between 17 and 23 now. I'm like, well, I'm just holding on to these for grandbabies now.
Absolutely.
So it's a good investment.
I would say so, for sure.
Yeah, so there's nothing beats a good Christmas book. And I know you have some lists, you said, for that are listed for free on your blog and also then through your resources and stuff. So, because sometimes we can be like, oh, is this going to be a lame Christmas book? Is this going to be worth it? And so I appreciate the time that you take to go through and read, because not all of us enjoy reading kids' picture books. So we appreciate, I know, we appreciate that you do. I don't mind reading them to my kids, but I didn't have the heart to go and pull them off the shelf and read them. So I appreciate people like you that will do that and then give us good lists. Because it's sometimes hard to find some good lists. So I appreciate your good list. But, as we're talking about just like adding in things and feeling like, okay, we still have to do all of the lessons. We kind of have our jam-packed day and now we got to add this in. But you're saying, don't add it in. We're just going to replace some things because there's so much busyness. And a lot of families, I know moms especially, feel overwhelmed by that at the holiday season. We've got Christmas parties and traveling and getting all the presents and everything. And then the Christmas concerts, the church programs and the co-op parties, all the things. Yeah. So how can parents shift the focus from consumerism and the chaos that sometimes ensues towards worship and connection within their home?
Yeah, I mean, especially the consumerism, that is a conversation that you can have with your children throughout the Christmas season. I know for us, we start off early because it is a lot. I mean, you're listing all those things and I'm already like, oh my gosh, this year is going to be so overwhelming. But, because we're all in the same boat. We all have those feelings. And so for me, I try to focus in on, what do I want my kids to take from this season? I don't want the whole season to be about what they want for Christmas and the lists and those stupid catalogs that come in the mail that I immediately derail and grab them and I throw them away because they become obsessive. My children are human just like your children. And as soon as they start thinking, what do I want? Or people ask them, they can get consumed with that. And so what we like to do is starting off at the beginning of the season, we, and this is more time, but I feel like it's worthy. We start talking about how can they earn some money so that they can write a giving list. And they start writing a giving list, and I'm talking about dollar store stuff or a homemade something, or, $5 or something for a sibling or a friend, and they'll start working on their giving list. And now I won't tell them, you can't write a Christmas list, a traditional Christmas list, but every time they start talking about what they want, I try to point them back to, have you been working on your giving list? And so after they earn some money throughout the holiday season, we spend a Saturday. This is a tradition where my husband takes the boys and I take the girls, and we take their money and their giving list and we go to thrift stores, we go to the dollar store, we go to the craft store to get whatever, to make whatever, and we spend the entire Saturday purchasing with their money, crafting whatever, wrapping, and being prepared to give. And it's been a really great shift to see my kids so excited about what they're going to give. And not just I bought presents and said, wrap them, they're from you, but they had to think about it, because what I want is for them throughout the whole season to be thinking about others and how can they give, how can they serve, how can they love. And, we also do things like baking cookies for our elderly neighbor, and we try to think of ways that we can get outside of our own home, our own wants, because that's what's hard. That's not typically what's scheduled in the calendar, but you have to put in. But at the end of the season, when I look back, I'm like, that was more fruitful than all those activities that we maybe opted out of.
That sounds like such a fun idea. And I can attest that when we focus outwards and we get our kids to focus outwards, it might take years of consistently doing this, but then their focus will turn outwards. And again, my kids are human. They're not perfect or anything. They're older now, but it's so fun on Christmas to watch how excited they are to give gifts. Now, they have their own jobs. They have their own money. And sometimes I'm like, wow, that came with quite a price tag, and they don't care. They're just excited to give, and they take the time to. The really cool thing is when kids take the time and really think about what that other person wants. Yeah, they're like, oh, I noticed that my sister would really like whatever, a certain dress, or she's like an extra dress for her doll or something like that, and that's what they go and find. It's just so sweet, and you're right that it takes us as parents to initiate that, but it's worth it. It's worth it more than all of the glitz and glamour and all the stuff that, we feel like we have to do during the holiday season.
Yeah, and I think that's the key, is to just simplify what really matters to you and, what you want that season to feel like. And, for me, that does add more things on my plate, if you want to call it that, because it requires me taking them shopping, or it requires me, buying the ingredients to make that traditional Christmas cookie that makes me feel like this is Christmas, we're connecting, we're doing this thing. But it's a season, I think, as we get older too, as women, just working on what's our best yes, where can we put our yes? And sometimes that means it means saying no to other things so that we can say yes to those intentional moments that matter. And I do struggle with that, because I am a woman with a lot on my plate. And when I hear of a fun parade that's going on, a holiday parade or something, I'm like, oh, we should do that. That could be our new tradition. And my husband's always like, well, when are we going to do that other thing that you said was going to be the most important thing, So I guess my encouragement is, don't always be like me when it comes to your plate, and just ask yourself and ask the Lord, what do I want it to feel like? What are the things that I want to put on our schedule this Christmas to be intentional? And that also includes for school, so maybe in that month, if their math lessons are usually really long and hard and, require a lot, maybe for that month they play math games, or they just do some review sheets, and you mostly focus on the Christmas schooling kind of stuff. So just some ideas just to be pondering for your season.
No, those are great ideas, and it's good encouragement. I think it's really important for us to hear from other moms in a similar season of life, to realize we're not alone in this struggle and this feeling. And I was like you too, let's add one more thing. And my husband too be like, when are we going to do that? How are we going to, we're supposed to go and do this. Or, oh yeah, you're saying your other greast, idea, your other best thing too. And he's like, well, I thought we already had one of those.
I know. So that's my story of my life.
But I think that's, it goes along. It's like par for the course for homeschool moms, because we're so invested and so excited about the education, but also beyond that with our kids, just the whole family culture, and just creating these memories, and the Christmas season can be such a blessing, but it also can feel overwhelming. So thank you for that encouragement to make it a little bit less overwhelming. But before we close out, could you share a favorite Christmas memory that you've had with your family and your children?
Sure. Back to the books. I think my favorite Christmas book, so you need to write this down, is The Christmas Miracle of Jonathan Toomey. And have you read that one?
Yes, I'm trying to remember the storyline, but I think that's one of the books we actually do have.
I'm not going to give it away, but it's about a wood carver, and it's just very sweet and emotional. And so when we read that for the first time, I had all the kids practice carving soap and become like the wood carver. And then we found a video of it on Prime. And so we watched the video, and it just became this entire experience. And that's one of the books in our Christmas curriculum, and you do that project with it, because I just feel like when we do a project with the book, it's so memorable, and the kids talk about it every year. And it's just a really, really sweet story. So you definitely need to put that one on your guys' list.
Okay. So fun. I think I remember part of it, and I won't. No spoiler alerts. We won't tell anybody.
No
But so neat. So you have mentioned your curriculum, Christmas stuff, Christmas schooling, and the listener's like, okay, I want to say add something, not add something to your plate because you're, maybe moving some things off for a little bit. But
Sure.
yeah, they want to figure out like, how can I just have some direction? Because sometimes this can feel overwhelming. Where can they find your curriculum and all that you have to offer at Treehouse Schoolhouse?
You can find it all on my website, treehouseschoolhouse.com. And if nothing else, start with a free book list. Start gathering some books and thinking about how you can include that in your day. But if you are looking for a school replacement where you can focus on Christmas for the season, we have multiple options. One of them is all about Christmas around the world, and you study a different country every day. You travel to that country through books and through projects and baking. And then our other two guides are just traditional Christmas crafts and projects surrounding really good picture books, some that will make you cry, so keep the tissues close. But really a way to connect all of your kids, from preschool to middle school really is my heart and what I write towards. So you can find it all over there at treehouseschoolhouse.com, or you can always find me on my Instagram too. I'm sharing inside my homeschool what it looks like with kids ages 5, 7, 10, and 12 right now. And that's treehouse_schoolhouse.
Perfect. I will put links for that in the show notes. As you're talking about, some of those books will bring tears to your eyes. I think most books that I've read to my kids have I'm the one that's sappy and crying, and they're like, "Oh, great, here goes Mom." I know. And even now, as I'll read, I will still do read aloud with my kids, even through the high school years, and it'll just get to it does barely kind of emotionally touching, and I'll start to get choked up. And the moment I do that, they look, so I only have one now. He'll look at me. I'm trying to fake it that I'm playing it cool and stuff, just clear my throat or yawn. It doesn't work. They know we just are sappy, I guess, and I don't know.
That's very sweet that you're still reading aloud to your 17-year-old son. I love it.
Yes, he will. He'll go along. It's just is what it is. It's just what we have done, and I enjoy it. I enjoy the connection that we still do. We'll say, in air quotes, morning time, but the books are not picture books. They're definitely much deeper, and we'll do theology. It's a good time. So I will put the link for Treehouse Schoolhouse, all the stuff, Instagram in the show notes, and you do have a coupon code, Little by Little 15, right? For 15% off? Okay.
That's right.
So be sure to use that code. So, Lyndsey, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. This was lovely.
Yes, thank you. And Merry Christmas.
Yes, Merry Christmas.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If it was just what you needed to hear, would you do me a favor and share it with a friend? And if you would like to connect more, social media links and more are in the show notes just for you. I promise to see you back here real soon.